Welcome back. When we last left our mess, Alice was telling her mom that Joe thought everybody, even Polly, had been acting out of love. This is what Helen had to say to that. Helen looked up, put her dish in the sink, and turned to face her daughter. There were tears of anger in her eyes. Love, Alice, love? That woman tried to decide how I should live my life. She decided I couldn't make my own decisions, so she made them for me. Love. That's not love. It's absurd and just plain selfish, Helen insisted loudly. Okay, Mom, okay. Alice hugged her. Sit down. I know what you're saying. I'm furious with Polly, furious and sad. I was just telling you what Joe said. I know how much you respect him. Personally, I called her a bitch and more. Helen looked at Alice. Really? I'm sorry, sweetie. So much has been happening. But listen, I have no desire to talk any more about Polly. She did what she did, and the only thing she's sorry about is that it didn't work. I have to concentrate on Doris. She smiled at her daughter. And you. I'm so glad you're here. Doris and I are fine. I don't quite know what to do about Polly yet, but I'll figure it out. Enough said about her for now. Okay, Mom, Alice replied, but she couldn't get her mind off Polly. She wondered if she should confront her further. So, Mom, she continued, come to the porch and tell me about the blurb in the Times. All about you. Oh, yes, my honor, Helen replied with a curtsy. I love it. It's good to know your work is appreciated. Well, obviously it is. Nice job, Mom, Alice responded with pride. Helen couldn't suppress a laugh. What's funny? Alice asked. Oh, nothing, Helen answered. Folks just make so much of it, that's all. They heard a truck on the lawn. Here's Joe for the kegs, Helen announced. They walked out to meet him. Joe and Alice shared a smile that didn't escape Helen's ecstatic notice. Still on for dinner? Joe asked Alice. Sure, what time? Alice asked. Have to talk to Andrew, Joe continued, but I'm sure he can cover the bar. Want to come by about 7 and we'll figure it out from there? Absolutely. See you then. She watched as Joe hauled the kegs onto the truck. Helen grabbed her daughter around the waist from behind, pinning her arms. Yes, 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 she said as she rocked Alice back and forth. I saw the looks between you two. I still got it. Mom, you're hurting me, Alice said, almost falling to the ground. Oh, sorry, Helen said and let go, then continued, yes, yes, yes. Mom, really? They both laughed. Chapter 21. After the excitement of the party settled down, Helen's thoughts returned to Polly. Well, not exactly returned. It was more like the pain just resurfaced. Sooner or later, she knew Polly would demand to talk. Polly had called and called. You're going to have to talk to her at some point, don't you think, Helen? Doris began. It's a small town. The two sat on the porch with their coffee. What would I say, Doris? Seriously, think about it. Hi, Polly. How have you been? I've tried, but I just can't seem to forgive you for being horrible to the woman I love and treating me like a child. Really. Doris smiled and reached for Helen's hand. How about, hi, Polly. We've had our differences. Can we put them behind us? Behind us? Can you do that? Helen responded loudly. She stood and looked out onto the lawn, feeling the tears coming. Yes, Doris responded calmly. Why? Helen turned to look at Doris. And how? Sweetie, I've had lots of practice over the years, Doris continued. There's one thing I know, absolutely and for sure, you can't make people be fair. You can't make people believe something they just don't believe. Well, I can't live with that, Helen replied. You're spoiled, you know. You're spoiled, my beautiful white love. Doris tried to kiss her, but Helen stopped her. Spoiled? Really? Helen replied. Listen, Helen, Doris smiled. That peaceful, serene, and reassuring smile Helen had come to know so well. You've been hurt. Somebody you thought you trusted decided that your way of life, no, not your way of life, your very self, who you are, is not acceptable. Doris noticed that Helen was trying hard to fight back the tears. I'm sorry, sweetie. I just want to make a point. Polly thought you needed fixing. that you were acting in a way that was so wrong, so completely unacceptable, that she felt she had to act. Now Doris felt tears rise, tears of anger and frustration. She fought them back. Do you know how often that has happened to me, to Gordon, to anyone who's not white? And to be a black lesbian, oh my God, that's just impossible, except for you. I really do think the fates brought us together, and Polly was their tool. Did you ever think of it that way? Polly brought us together so many years ago. That must make her so frustrated, so angry. Helen felt a strange mixture of emotions, sadness, but satisfaction. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Polly is complicated. She's old-fashioned, and such an easy victim. She's afraid of everything. Have you ever noticed that, Doris asked. Polly? We are talking about Polly Franklin. Afraid? Helen asked. Doris continued adamantly. I'll bet she's terrified right now that she'll never see you again, that her life in Dysonville has changed in a way that can't be reversed. I'll bet you if you called her. Helen interrupted. Doris, I don't want to talk to her. Don't you understand that? She tried to send you away. She tried to change my life behind my back. Sweetie, here are your two choices. You can talk to her and try to forgive her, or you can stew about this for the rest of your life. And you don't believe it now, but you will become more sad than angry. How old were the two of you when you met? 4? Talk to her, Helen, Doris implored. Only a couple of days later, Alice decided to do just that. She called from the bar. Hi, Polly. This is Alice. Want to join me at Morgan's? Drinks on me. Sure, Alice. Polly was elated. Now, Alice replied. Polly arrived within 15 minutes. Alice met her at the door. Polly hugged her. Alice managed to pat Polly on the back. They took a table. Joe sent Andrew over with drinks. Beer for Alice, wine for Polly. Alice, I'm so glad you want to talk further. I'm so sorry about all of this. What a birthday gift, Polly began. Alice interrupted her. Polly, I don't care about any of that. I want you to tell me exactly what happened. I come home and find you and Mom, completely on the outs, not even looking at each other. I've heard Mom's version, finally. Polly cleared her throat. Now I want to hear yours. Alice, dear, Polly smiled. So you understand now that I did what had to be done? Polly, I'm not here for your platitudes, Alice snapped. Polly appeared amazed. Alice ignored her and continued, just tell me in your own words what happened. Okay, well, in a nutshell, what happened is that Lorraine told me about the absolutely incredible mess your mother has found herself in. Polly's face twisted to a look of pure disgust, and I acted. I acted in her best interest. I would do it all again. Alice simply couldn't believe her ears. You would do it all again? You have no regrets, no doubts about the way you behaved in all this? Polly looked offended. The way I behaved? What? Toward Mom, Polly. Toward Mom, your best friend. Polly, what's wrong with you? Alice was trying in vain to keep her volume down. Wrong with me? Alice, dear, maybe you don't understand, but Helen is destroying herself. She's living with, Polly lowered her voice, a black, I can't even say it. Lesbian? Is that what you're having a hard time saying? Alice replied without lowering her voice. Polly. She could no longer muster the Aunt Polly thing. She wondered if Polly had noticed. You have to talk to Mom. I tried, dear. And be quiet. Polly looked around nervously, then responded. She won't talk to me, at least right now. She might, Alice replied, if you apologize. Maybe if you just tell her, apologize. Polly was on her feet. Alice pulled her back to the table hard. Joe was watching carefully. Sit down, Polly. You have to apologize. Don't you see that? She loves you. And you went behind her back and tried to tear her life apart. Can't you see that was wrong? Alice, Polly was whispering, but loudly. She's confused. I tried so hard to help. I tried so hard. Before Alice knew what she was doing, she hit Polly. She slapped her hard and walked away. Polly sat in the booth, nursing her jaw, unsure of what had just happened. Joe came over with some ice and suggested she just go home. Alice knew that the back room at the bar would be empty except for supplies. She didn't really want to see her mom right now. She sat down on a group of beer boxes and cried. When Joe found her, she had no idea how long she had been asleep. Hi, beautiful dreamer, he said, sitting down beside her. Oh, wow, Alice sat up, shook her head and rubbed her eyes. Did I fall asleep here? I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? Joe was smiling and rubbing her hair. She kissed him. Well, so I guess I made a fool of myself. Are you kidding? Joe responded. The whole bar clapped after Polly left. Didn't you hear? The Dysonville grapevine is already buzzing. I love that you hit her. Don't tell anybody I said that. Oh, God, I hit her. Is she okay? Alice asked. Of course she's okay. I sent her home with ice a long time ago, Joe replied. Alice put her head down in Joe's lap. Mom's right, Joe. I couldn't believe it. But all Polly is sorry about is that she didn't succeed. Alice stood up. I'd better go home, she said, standing and brushing off her clothes. I want to be there this morning to talk to Mom. Okay, Joe replied. I'll give you a call later in the day. Alice smiled, kissed Joe again, and left through the back door. When Helen woke up, Alice had made coffee and cinnamon toast. Doris was still sleeping. What smells so good? Helen asked, coming into the kitchen. Cinnamon toast, my favorite. Thank you, sweetie. Well, it's the least I could do, Mom, Alice replied. Helen stopped mid-bite. Why, Lord, what now? I talked to Polly, Alice continued. Again. Helen put down her toast. Well, I figured you would, at some point. I slapped her, Mom. Helen looked at her daughter, alarmed. Don't worry, she's fine. I just wanted to tell you before she did. Alice looked at her food. Suddenly she heard laughter. Mom, what on earth is funny? Alice asked. I hate to say this, honey, but I have so wanted to do that ever since, Helen was laughing hard now, ever since I hit Lorraine. What? You hit Lorraine? Alice was laughing now too and looking at her mom somewhat amazed. When did you hit Lorraine? Well, the first time. Alice looked up through tears. Both were laughing hysterically. The first time I just tried. It was outside the church. Polly stopped me. Ironic, huh? But when I really hit her was at her townhouse, when I went to tell her that she was done. Done making us miserable. Done blackmailing Polly. All done. Like mother, like daughter, I guess, was all Alice could say. Chapter 22. There was a knock on the kitchen door, rattling the screen. Alice answered to a very excited Lillian. I have an idea, Alice, a great idea. She stopped. Why do you look like you've been crying? Laughing, Lil. Just laughing, Alice responded. Helen left for the porch and coffee with Doris. She was all moved back in. Where you belong, as Helen pointed out at every opportunity. Lillian pushed her way through the door. Is Dad here? He needs to hear this too. Let's move in. Downstairs. Wait, Lil, slow down, Alice said. Downstairs? Here? You think your dad and you should move into the apartment? Dad'll love it, Alice. You know he will, Lillian responded. There was a second knock. Lil answered, irritated to be interrupted, but she was delighted to see her dad. You're here early, Lil. He kissed his daughter and looked from her to Alice and back again. Okay. What are you two up to? What? Lillian asked innocently. You both look like the cat who ate the canary. What's up? He asked again, pouring coffee for himself. Dad, Lillian began. Dad, you like our little apartment, don't you? Sure, it's okay. It works for us, doesn't it? He answered, wondering what was coming. Lillian continued. I guess so, but it is a little apartment. If we tried to fit in another person. Joe looked from his daughter to Alice once again. Alice grinned and ate her toast. So, Dad, we think, Lillian took Alice's hand, that you and I should move here, downstairs, into Helen's apartment, Lillian stated emphatically. Really, do you now? Joe answered. So does Alice, Lillian assured him. I'm moving down there anyway, Alice said. I need more than my old room here. She smiled, since I guess I'm staying in town. Hell, sorry, honey. Joe looked at his daughter. Yeah, you're staying in town. Really, Dad? Lillian rolled her eyes. So, what do you think? I think you two are in cahoots. That's what I think. But there's plenty of room, separate entrance, and I won't be an orphan anymore. Lillian looked at her dad. An orphan? Wow, is it that bad? Joe asked. Well, let's see, Alice interrupted. Your clothes are in the closet, your toothbrush is in the bathroom. Just when do you see your daughter? On the way to school? Sometimes after? Yeah, that's bad. I'm sorry, Joe hugged Lillian. Dad, I love that you and Alice are a thing. A thing? Joe looked at Alice. We're a thing. Yes, you are, Lillian assured him. So when are we moving? Has anyone asked the woman who owns the house? She's on the porch with Doris. Alice walked to the porch with Joe and Lillian in tow. She kissed her mom on the cheek. So, Mom, you got a minute? Should I leave? Doris asked, standing to go. No, of course not, Alice insisted. This will affect you too. I hope you'll like it. She wasn't sure how to start. Alice? Helen asked rather loudly. What's up? You're making me nervous. Helen was looking at her daughter as if expecting bad news. Oh, Mom, no, you'll love this. She smiled at her mom and continued. First of all, I'm moving back to Dysonville. Helen stood quickly. Moving home? Moving home? When? Now? Well, yes, actually, I guess now. I need to go back to North Carolina for some things, but I put notice in at work, and there's more. Alice took her mom's hands. I want to move in here. Helen grabbed her daughter and hugged her hard. Mom, I mean here to this house. Helen breathed deeply, and her eyes lit up. She hugged her daughter again, even harder. Into the basement apartment with Joe and Lillian, she asked, and Aunt said at the same time. All of you, Helen responded. Wow, 3 downstairs and 2 up. We'll have a full house. Chapter 23. The staff and residents of Dysonville Assisted Living were having a party. Parties were common. It gave the residents a chance to vary their routine, and it gave families, if there were families, an easy opportunity to visit when they wouldn't be the entertainment for their loved one. Morning, Bella, Helen greeted the receptionist as she came through the door. How's goes it? Same old, honey. How's our most famous volunteer? She pointed to the framed news article behind the desk. Helen couldn't help but smile. What could she say? She was following her heart. It's nice to be appreciated, always seemed adequate. Helen, she heard from somewhere around her waist. It was Sam in her wheelchair. Helen, she repeated. She seemed to like the sound. Hi, Sam. Let's go see what's happening over here. She smiled at Bella and rolled Sam over to the party. You listen to the music. I have to go see Angie, but I'll be right back. Sam was tapping her hands to the music and didn't seem to notice when Helen left. Angie? Helen asked as she knocked. Helen heard from behind the door. Angie, it's Helen, she said as she came into the room. Angie was in her bed staring out of the window at the clear early fall light. Helen, is that you? Helen, my angel, give me. Helen hugged Angie and handed her a napkin and a small round cupcake. You enjoy this, every bite, as if it were your last. Angie smiled and ate. Helen left her to her snack and returned to the party. After a bit, she suggested to Bella, you might want to send someone to check on Angie a little earlier than usual. She seemed very weak to me. I was just on my way there, Helen. Angie buzzed. A nurse's assistant had overheard. It's uncanny the way you always know when our residents need us. She buzzed. For you to come? Helen asked with some alarm. Had the cake had time to work? Had Angie panicked, changed her mind? Helen was so careful about her clients. When someone told her they were ready, she always checked up on their progress. She talked to the nurses. She noticed their behavior. If someone was ready to go, she was more than ready to help. But they had to really be ready, and they had to know what they were asking. She had, once, given a cake to a family member asking for a truly lost loved one, but Helen wanted folks to ask for themselves. She hated to say no to families, but somehow that wasn't what this was about. If she was going to play God She had to speak to these people personally. They had to know the decision they were making. Helen followed the CNA to Angie's room. She looked as if she had never stopped her vigil out the window. They never found out why she had buzzed, but the oleander cake had done its work. When Helen got home, Polly was sitting with Doris. "Polly, what on earth are you doing here?" Helen asked with an irritation she had not intended. "Your daughter hit me. Did you know that? She hit me in public." Polly was standing now as if demanding a reply. "Yes, Polly, I know. She told me. I assumed she had a good reason," was all Helen said. Doris couldn't suppress a smile that was almost a laugh. "Really? She invited me out for a drink, and then she hit me. So what are you going to do about it?" Polly demanded. "What am I going to do? I'm sorry," Helen suggested. "Talk to her. Tell her how wrong she was." Helen laughed. "Polly, she's 42 years old. I'm not going to tell her how to act or what to do." "Well, somebody should," Polly insisted. "Polly, I'm tired. It's already been one hell of a day. I just want to sit with Doris and have a late lunch. I'm sorry that Alice hit you. Why exactly did she do that?" "Well, let's see. We were talking about how stubborn you are," Polly began. "Don't start, Polly. Please leave. It hurts me to have to say that to you over and over, so please, get it this time." Doris came to Helen's side. Polly felt she had no other option. She stormed out the door. As soon as they were alone, Helen broke into tears. "What am I supposed to do with her, Doris? This is so weird. It's like she can't hear me when I say we're done." "I doubt she ever will, sweetie," Doris said. "What?" "Well, she has to, Doris. I can't let her be here. Just wander in and act like a lunatic. What does she want me to do about Alice? Punish her?" And every time I look at Polly, I feel like she thinks she's superior. Helen was truly angry now. "So?" Doris asked. "So it pisses me off," Helen replied. "I don't think that's very different from the way she's always acted," Doris suggested. "Think about it. When has Polly ever not thought she was superior? It didn't used to be a problem." "Well, that's true." Helen couldn't suppress a smile. She sat down. "Doris, what are you telling me? Can you just allow her to be herself? Aren't we mad at her because she can't allow you to be yourself?" Doris interrupted. Helen looked directly at Doris now. "Doris," she began, "you're amazing. How can you be so patient, kind, even loving to Polly?" "Well, I wouldn't go so far to say that I love Polly, Helen, but I can see where she's coming from," Doris responded. "Really? Well, I can too. And it's from a place of pure ignorance." Helen was back on her feet. "It's from a place of pure fear," Doris replied calmly. "Fear? What is it with you and Polly being afraid?" Helen asked in frustration. "She's afraid of everything, Helen. I can see fear every time she accidentally looks at me, or looks at me when she thinks I'm not looking." "Doris, I hate to be the one to tell you, but I don't think Polly's afraid of you." "Sorry, just saying," Helen replied sarcastically. "Not of me, Helen. Of what I represent. I'm black. I'm a lesbian. Neither is okay with Polly. But nevertheless, I took you away from her, or that's how she sees it. I was with you when she wasn't. And you never talked about me with her at all, did you? That must have been strange for Polly. Welcome maybe on some level, but strange." "Okay, I can see that. But really, does that justify what she did?" Helen asked. "No, and I'm not trying to justify anything," Doris insisted. "But we've been making a fool of her, Helen. Think about it. We changed very little about our lives. While Polly believed we were not seeing each other anymore, we were pulling the wool over her eyes every day, every minute of every day. If you must have it this way, we won, sweetie. We've lost nothing, but you and Polly have lost everything." Chapter 24. Alice came upstairs from the apartment. "Morning, Doris." "Good morning, Mom. How are you?" "Fine, dear, just fine. How are you? You all moved in?" Helen asked. "No, actually," Alice replied. "I have to go to North Carolina tomorrow to pick up the last of my things. Joe's going with me. We'll be gone overnight. Lil will be here." "Good, good," was all that Helen said. It had been a solemn house the last couple of days. Helen had actually spoken to Polly over the phone, but that had only ended again in tears and frustration. Doris decided to try, just to try. She dialed. Polly answered. Polly, this is Doris. Doris? Polly asked, amazed. Yes, Doris. We need to talk. You and me? About what? You know about what, Doris insisted. Doris, not going to talk to you, not about Helen or anything else. She hung up the phone. It rang again. She answered. If you hang up, Doris insisted, I'll find you downtown in the middle of the street. We're going to talk. It can be wherever you like. Polly was alarmed. Doris had never spoken to her in this way. As a matter of fact, Polly had never heard Doris lose her temper at all. Your Helen's house? Polly heard herself say. Okay, but Helen won't be here, Doris assured her. Okay, I guess. Polly arrived mid-afternoon. Doris met her at the back door and motioned her toward the porch. Do you want some coffee, Polly? Maybe a drink? A drink would be good. I can fix it. Polly rose and headed toward the kitchen. No, you sit. You're my guest. A look of disgust came over Polly's face at the idea that Doris considered this to be her home. Does Helen even know I'm here? She asked. No, Polly, she doesn't. Once again, I've lied to the woman I love because of you. Don't be absurd, was all Polly could say. Doris left to make the drinks. When she returned, Polly was pacing. Here, Polly, sit, please. Polly sat and poured a martini from the pitcher. She realized that she had been pouring drinks from this same beautiful green pitcher for Helen for years. She fought back the tears. She certainly wasn't going to let Doris see her cry. After a minute, she composed herself and looked up. So, Doris, why am I here? You're here because I have a personal invitation to extend to you. You know that Alice is moving here to the house? Well, Helen is having a party to celebrate, and if you could be here, we could make it a celebration for you and Helen too. A celebration for me and Helen? Oh my God, you are leaving. Doris stood suddenly. Polly, put down that drink and listen. I'm not leaving. Helen doesn't want me to leave, and I don't want to leave. Alice doesn't want me to leave. Joe and Lillian don't want me to leave. It's just you, Polly. I swear in this whole town, you're the only person who cares. I'm not leaving. I think that's a good stopping place.